If you grew up with any sort of religious training, you may have been told that the religious education you were receiving and the doctrine you were instructed to uphold were purifying you so that you could renounce your sinful ways and become one of God's chosen. Conversely, if you left that religion, you may have been told that you were bound for hell and that God could never love you. You may have spent sleepless nights longing to be included in God's love, but fearing that you could never be more than a sinner who was surely bound for hell. Or perhaps you had no religious ties, and you had been warned that your lack of piousness was going to cost you your happiness. But no matter what you may have been taught, it is time to learn the truth. Welcome, everyone. It's Marcia Martin, the Heart Healer, here with you on Angel Heart Radio. And if you're ready to discover who are the chosen of God, then I want you to stay with me, because when we come back, we're going to discover why many are called, but few are chosen.
Angel Heart Radio programs should not be used to replace your legal or medical advice, nor your own sound judgment. In truth, nothing can dim your magnificence. You are a divine spark, a universal light. You are here on purpose. You are part of a divine plan, and it's our joy to support you. We're here to celebrate you. Welcome to Angel Heart Radio. Powered by love, Angel Heart Radio is brought to you by AngelLight777.com. Great news, everyone. Angel Heart Radio is now live streaming on our Facebook page, and we have a fully searchable, brilliant podcast platform for you at AngelHeartListen.com. Put the power of the spiritual realm to work in your life with Marcia Martin on Angel Heart Radio starts now.
So let's take a look at what is meant by some of the scriptures that I find are being used as an excuse for blatant racism and for other prejudice that is wrong on every level. Before we go into the scriptures and look at them with eyes that want to see the truth and ears that want to hear the truth instead of hearts that are clouded by hate or some sort of other prejudice, I want to share with you the description that my guides gave me for the human race. And they said, there is only one source of all beingness. It is as though there was one beam of light that went through the prism called human beings and created all of the different beings on the planet. So yes, we do look different from each other. Sometimes we sound different from each other. But there is only one beginning place for all of us. It's the same source. We're the same beam of light. We're just seeing each other through the prism of our humanness. So today we're going to look at the religious aspect to try to counteract some of the prejudice that occurs because of religion. And I want you to apply that same understanding to any kind of difference that you see within people, whether it is color, language, faith, or anything else that you are using, political ideology, whatever it is that you are using as your measure of whether you can be kind to another person or not. We need to understand from God's viewpoint what it means to be children of God. So the question that I first pose to all of you is, am I chosen? Just immediately from the beginning, let us understand all are chosen. Every single one of you living on the planet today, and all of those who have returned back to the energetic, are chosen by God. You may choose not to actively participate in that relationship, but that is you rejecting the love of God that is being poured forth unceasingly 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If there's any break in the relationship, it's coming from your side and not from God. God looks at your heart, sees the magnificent being that you are capable of becoming, and loves that. They don't look and say, oh my gosh, Charlie made a lot of mistakes today. Well, I got to cross him off my list of chosen ones. God continues to see you as you are in your fullness and in your totality. And they love you through the mistakes and the experimenting and the journey, because they see you growing into a bigger, fuller, more complete version of yourself. And as we become more complete, we automatically skew to be kinder and more loving, because the more you know, the more you choose love. Hatred comes from fear, and fear is really the product of lack of information. If fear came from anything, I would have to say it comes from not knowing. I'm afraid of the dark. I don't know what I might find in the dark. I'm afraid of this or that, or I'm afraid of new things. I am not certain of what I'm going to find. So therefore, I don't feel comfortable. I'm choosing to be afraid. So today, let's take a look at 3 different scriptures that will help you grow in your completeness, grow in your ability to love, and help you reduce the need to be afraid. As the more you know, the less you fear. Today we're going to look at many are called, few are chosen. We're going to look at the idea in Revelations that only 144,000 are sealed, and they are only from the tribes of Israel. And then I want us to look at the idea that sinners are condemned to hell. If we are not operating with the truth, we may believe that God picks and chooses Mary but not Steve, Steve but not Bob, Bob but not Nate. That's just confusion and misinterpretation of what was being shared with you. We need to take a moment to step out of our humanness and into our divine beingness. And for that purpose, let's use the example of Jesus. So Jesus is walking among the Jewish people. He came to them because they had the most open-minded relationship with a divine presence of all of the people that were in the world at that time. So they were the most likely to begin adopting this new way. It wasn't because they were better. It was because at that time their mindset was more in line with progress. They were more likely to get the idea of what was being taught and share that with others. So this is something that you want to hold on to as you move forward. If somebody is extremely resistant to the ideas that you may be sharing with them about love being more powerful than hate, or that all are chosen and there's no reason to fear and that we are safe and loved, if you feel an extreme amount of resistance coming from the person that you're trying to share this with, it's time for you to move on. It's time for you to understand that they are where they are and they have a right to be where they are, but they are not ready to accept what you are sharing with them. So just move on and find other people that are willing, because if you keep knocking on the door that's locked and closed, barred against you, you're just wasting your energy. So at least go to the door that's cracked open a little and begin sharing your love. And then they'll get it, they'll get filled with love, and they'll go out and share their love. And that's the way that we bring the world into a loving state. Go with those who are ready now, and know that when the others are ready, someone will be there to introduce them to love as well. So Jesus is there with the Jewish people because of their openness at the time. And he's teaching them salvation, inclusion, acceptance, and unconditional love. That was all that he wanted to share. He was not there saying, you're better because I chose you, and you are terrible over there, other person, because I didn't choose you. He was going to the people he felt would be most receptive to his message and teaching them that all should be included. So we have now people, disciples, followers that he chose to bring into the fold, people that he was grooming to be carrying this message forward into the world. But we have to understand that the people that wrote the Gospels later wrote it from their perspective. And we have no real way of knowing if they accurately transcribed what they received, what they heard, what Jesus shared with them. But we do have something that will never fail, and that is we have a truth meter in our hearts. So if you were to read in the Bible that God said, go kill everyone, or Jesus were to say, only this group is good, and it felt really odd to you, you got a really weird feeling like, wait a minute, every other thing I've read has been about love. Now suddenly it's about only one group, one tiny little group is good. And you might become confused and upset because of that information. Understand that there are a lot of mixed messages within any religious text because of translations, because time has gone by and what everybody understood at one time may not be as clear as it is now, and because we are relying on human scribes to write this down and they can make mistakes. So if it doesn't line up with your belief of what you think, have a right to question it and to ask for confirmation from the energetic realm. And remember, something that we have learned over and over and over again is that if it is not loving, it's not from God. So just tuck that into the back of your mind as you are hearing about what could be true and what is very likely not to be. So remember that the writers are sharing it from their perspective, and the only people that they are concerned with are their own tribes. their own group. That is probably the only people they would have interaction with, first of all. Remember, this is not a world that has access to telephones, cars, planes, internet, any kind of electronic transmission. So you may only travel a few miles from the city of your birth in your entire lifetime. That means that the people that you interact with may not be very different from you, and they may all share the same beliefs. Not because that's the only belief that's available, but because that's the only belief in your little tiny part of the world. So when we look at it from that perspective, and we hear them say, oh, the seal of God, the seal of protection was placed on all 12 of the tribes of Israel, and it included all 144,000 of the people who were part of the tribes of Israel. We cannot read it and say, oh, God only wants people who are associated with the country of Israel. What we must understand is those are the only people they knew to be on the earth at this time. And it was their way of saying, God has chosen each and every person on the earth. Now, they also went on to say 12,000 from each tribe. 12 tribes. 12 is the number of completion or totality. There are 12 months of the year. There are 12 signs of the zodiac. So therefore, what they did was say, anyone born in any during this time period, this 365 days in the year, under any of these 12 zodiacs, in any of the 12 months, those people are the ones that have been sealed by God for their protection. In other words, everyone on the earth has been sealed, protected, chosen by God. It's impossible to be born at a day that doesn't exist. And since they included every day of the year, it is impossible to be born outside the protection of. Let us remember that grace is the freely given, unmerited favor and love of God. Grace is not handed out based on your good works, your good thoughts, your whatever money in the bank account. And every single person is born under and will leave the planet under God's grace. So when God chose in the book of Revelations, and this is Revelations verse 7, all of to hit the seal of protection on that 144,000, God was saying in their world, in their time, and that's all they knew, God was choosing all of the beings in the land without exception. Now let's look at something else that the writers of the Bible, and we're using the Bible, but I'm sure that these kinds of confusions are in every religious text, unless it was written in our time, because too much time has gone by. There's too much room for error, too many translations, and rulers in charge who felt that religion gave them power, so they were going to add parts and take parts out that may have looked better to them. I'm not speaking about other religions because I grew up with Christianity and don't know enough about the other religions. But certainly every culture has its prejudices. And so we need to look at the overall prejudice banner that we're waving in our world today. So let's take a look at hell, because certainly one of the things that we were doing in my youth was telling people who had chosen different sexual orientations or any different way of being that they were bound for hell. That again, God had condemned them. It was very clear. Nobody had any confusion about it because it was the ongoing conversation until it wasn't. Until people woke up and got tired of hearing this petty talk, of how one person could judge another and say, you're going to hell because I don't like the way you're acting, thinking, talking, or who you've chosen to love or who you want to spend time with. God repeatedly reminds us all are welcome. If you really look at what Jesus shared with us, you see acceptance and forgiveness. You see that all are welcome. Now, Jesus did not have a big pool of different nationalities to choose from in that time, because again, he was limited by what was available in that day. So he couldn't get on a plane and go to another group of people and share his message. He shared it with whomever was available in the area where he was. So let's not say that Jesus preferred one group of people over another. He had to use what was available, and there wasn't a whole bunch of multinationalism handy in order for him to demonstrate what he was saying. So what he did was choose people from all different walks of life, and usually these were people who were broken or were considered to be the lowest group in society, the ones that the throwaways, the ones that nobody wanted. So even though there was not diversity in terms of race or color of skin, he chose diversity among the people that he asked to be with him and to hear his message of acceptance and forgiveness. He chose those considered by society to be the most marginalized or perhaps the most damaged, to be his representatives. And Jesus rebuked those piously while secretly harboring hate in their hearts. Remember, he called out the religious leaders of the time and said, that's not the way to do it. You don't look down your nose at someone who doesn't have the stature that you do and pretend that you are so godly. Jesus deliberately chose to uplift the broken. He was the one that went among those who were considered sinners. He spent time with the diseased, and in those days, disease was considered extremely powerful because they didn't have many remedies that were effective against it, and usually meant that you would either have extreme disfigurement from something like leprosy, which ate away at the appendages, so that like your whole hand could be eaten by the disease, or you would die. because the ability to heal, or the things that we have today that we take for granted, were not available then. So disease was something that they would be afraid of, and probably within reason. So Jesus wanted to make an example of how powerful it was when you were in alignment with God, and he chose to walk among the sick and the sinners to show that absolutely nothing could separate you from the love of God, and nothing that was so horrible could happen to you that you couldn't undo in some way. Now, again, we need to remember that being in a physical body is not the end of your existence. The physical body will at some point decide it's done. You will have used up the amount of life that's in the body. But you are an energetic being. You will return to the energetic realm, and from that place, you will then get to review what you have learned in this life, and you will continue learning in the energetic form, and then you will get to choose whether you're going to have another lifetime of challenge and learning. And hopefully you will bring with you the love that you have learned to appreciate while you were in the physical the last time. If you did not get to the place where you were able to see love for what it was, the power that it was, then you will live a life of challenge where you will be challenged to learn about love, because love is the ultimate gift that you can give yourself or anyone else. Because love is the expander. Love is the way that we grow closer to God. Love is the way that we approach our own completion. And to be complete is to be more and more in the likeness of God. More and more able to see past skin color, nationality, political ideology, sexual orientation, or anything that you think is making someone different from you. See past all that into their heart and see the goodness lies within. When you can do that, you are acting as God. And that's the example that Jesus gave us. He took those that society considered unworthy and helped them to see their own greatness. And what happens when someone begins believing in their own greatness? They become great. Each one of these 12 disciples went out and shared their love with others. And they created a whole new world to live in. It's the acceptance of your greatness that creates change. Because while you're locked in self-pity and remorse, you can only believe that you should receive help. You don't see yourself as capable of giving anything, so you're living in this sort of dark room, just waiting to be rescued. You may believe that you have nothing to offer and that you have no value, and that is being condemned to hell. In my opinion, if there's a hell, it's living your life believing that you have no value. Being accepted into God's heaven is not a merit-based program. It's not your good works. It's not even what you're thinking. It is what you are holding in your heart. In order to find heaven, you've got to release all the negativity and limiting beliefs that have put you in hell. So yes, hell does exist. It's not a place God sends you. It's the place you put yourself when you cut yourself off from God and when you believe that you are alone and separate. That's hell. And I know it because I was there for a very long time in my life. For a very long time, I believed myself to be valueless, worthless, and having been a person that had made so many mistakes and such poor decisions that it would just be impossible for me to ever overcome those poor judgments. That was hell. And I stayed in that place as long as I allowed myself to be completely consumed by self-pity. I stayed there while I was waiting for someone else to rescue me. I believed that I was in a prison and someone else held the key. I was released from it when I learned that the door opened from the inside and I was the one holding the key. And the key for me was to forgive myself for all of the pain and hurt and discomfort that I had caused myself believing that I was worthless. So if you today are feeling worthless or that you have no value, or if you believe that God doesn't want you, I ask that you go into your heart and take a deep breath. Just place all of your attention on the heart. Gather up all of your senses and place all of your attention on the heart space. Breathe deeply. Breathe completely. And with that breath, I want you to tell yourself, I forgive you. I forgive you for being confused. I forgive you for making mistakes. I forgive you for not understanding that you're loved. I forgive you for feeling that you're worthless. Take a deep breath. Really think about what you've just said. You've looked at all that you may be hiding in a dark room, and you've forgiven yourself for holding that within you. Open the door. Let go of all that hurt and negativity. And now, fill it with love. Tell yourself, I love you. I'm so grateful for all that you've given me. And look into your heart and find the God connection there and say to God, I love you. Thank you, God, for never giving up on me. I'm ready to partner with you. I want to experience my goodness. Because until I know who I am, I cannot offer it to anyone else. So in the coming days and weeks, begin reminding yourself, been forgiven for the mistakes, for the confusion, for the judgments, for the hatred. I've been forgiven for all of these limiting beliefs. Let me begin now to find everything that feels good to my heart. And to that, I will hold on. I'm going to pull that into my heart, into my awareness. I'm going to speak of every good thing. I'm going to remind others of the blessings that they have in their life as I remind myself. I'm going to step away from everything that's wrong, and I'm going to run with my arms open wide into all that I have, and then I will express gratitude for all that I have. No one will be able to convince me that I am unlovable or unworthy because I know the truth. I see all that I am. I see all that I have. This is your way out of hell. I tried to get out of hell with good works, being kind, doing more and more and more for other people. That's not the way out. That buried me deeper. It forced me to make even more mistakes. It wasn't until I accepted that I was a beloved child of God that I was able to climb out of the hell that I had created for myself. And that's what I want for each and every one of you. You've been made in the image and likeness of God. That means you're perfect. That means you're great. Then you have to be great too. Say that to yourself. And then look at another person and say, well, if I'm great, you're great also. And if I'm loved, you're loved also. Remember, we are one beam of light being viewed through the prism of humanity. So why does Matthew 7:14 tell us that many are called but few are chosen? That has caused more confusion and heartache than so many other passages. Well, God's love does come with a condition. Condition is the difference between heaven and hell. It's the condition between feeling worthy or feeling less than, being able to feel accepted or believing that you've been rejected. It also defines whether you recognize your greatness or you believe you have nothing to offer. So what is this condition? Free will. Each one of us has been given free will. This means God is not going to force their love upon you. God is not going to say, look at me, look me in the eyes and understand what I'm saying to you. I'm trying to tell you you're loved, you're great. God says, when you're ready, when you agree, when you have been in hell long enough, you will begin reaching out to me, and it will be your choice. It will be your decision. Free will is why few are chosen. God calls each one of us, but unless we agree to let go of the limiting belief that says we cannot be worthy, we will never view ourselves as one of the chosen. And because our beliefs determine what we experience, we will experience rejection. We will believe that we were true, that we were correct. Conversely, if I go into my heart, I forgive myself for all of the cruelty that I've shown myself, I allow that space to be wiped clean, and I replace it with Holy Spirit love, with unconditional love and acceptance, and I reach out to God, I will believe I am one of God's chosen, and I will experience that truth. It wasn't God that rejected you. It was you that rejected God. And because your belief system determines what you experience, then you experienced the truth of your belief. So I'm challenging each one of you as you move forward to step into the place where you are walking in love, knowing that you are safe and loved, knowing that there is nothing that you need fear, knowing that you are one of God's chosen. Now, you cannot say that with your mouth and then immediately go out and condemn someone else or hold thoughts that say, well, that sounds good, but I sure don't believe it. Get in alignment. That means the heart is clear and has accepted that you are loved and chosen by God. The mind has turned off all the negativity and all of the judging and all of the conditions, and the mind is producing thoughts that say, I am safe and loved. And out of the mouth come statements that reflect that. That is being in alignment with your belief and having a daily practice where you connect with God and bring that love into your being so that you will know beyond a shadow of a doubt that yes, you are indeed chosen. Those furthest from the love of God that unifies have used that love to cause division, to grab power, and to dominate others. Sometimes they do it in the name of religion. Other times it's politics or some other claim that they say is only for them. But no matter why they are doing it, you cannot speak for God and say one is better than the other. If you are speaking God, you are speaking love. Love accepts every person where they are and gives them the opportunity to grow as they are able. Now, that doesn't mean, let's say that you have in the midst of you someone who has chosen to be a horrible person. Let's say it's a pedophile. Difficult to love. Very difficult to find something good in a person who is a child predator. Don't love that person who is a child predator. Love the person that they really are, the person beneath that fear-based, corrupted individual, and show them who they really are. Show them the goodness that lies beneath all of that black garbage that they've piled on top. Because at the heart of every being, once you have stripped away all limiting beliefs, all extenuating circumstance, all the garbage that we collect, at the heart of every being, there is a person of extreme purity that is God essence. Now, some people will not allow you to pull their goodness forth so they can see it. They will fight you at every step of the way. They're not ready. Walk away from those. You've planted a seed. Go to the people who are saying, I'm really struggling. I want to offer something good to the world. I want to see good in myself. Or I'm trying to recover from this trauma and I just can't do it. Those are the people who are ready. They're already reaching out. There's only so much that you can do. But there are so many of us that what you cannot do, someone else can. So go where you are called and don't spend your days in agony trying to break down the door that is not ready to open. Those people that are holding on to their hatred are the insecure bullies of the world. You're just wasting your breath trying to convince them at this point that they can let go of their fear. What you need to do instead is go gather up all of the broken hearts that want to see their goodness and help them discover it. Because bullies are really just scared little children. And if you come with this big wave of love, as opposed to just you yourself, you may convince them that your way is the better way. Think of the bully as an undereducated person, somebody who just doesn't get it. But remember, that same condition that God imposed upon you, you must impose upon them. They've got to choose. Otherwise, it's just God as dictator. And that is not loving. So you've got to choose to go forth willingly. They have to choose to receive. And everyone has to understand that God will not force. And if it doesn't feel good to your heart, learn to back off that path. If it doesn't feel good to your heart, if it doesn't bring you love, joy, and peace, then you're either on the wrong path or you haven't done the work to clear and heal your heart, and so all you can see is hatred and abuse because of your past trauma. But only you know. You are wise when you allow yourself to see. So the no forcing rule is always going to apply, but it doesn't mean that, let's just use exercise as an example. It doesn't mean that you can say, oh, I don't want to exercise, and that you will be able to get your body in shape. You are going to have to apply discipline to every area of your life. So if you want to get in shape spiritually, you're going to have to apply some discipline to your life. You are going to have to do the work to clear out your heart. You're going to have to do the work to transform your thoughts. It can't be this crazy belief that, oh, I have no control over what I'm thinking. Instead, you've got to change your perspective and understand the only one in charge of you is you, all your choice. So this is not a road. The spiritual road is not one that you can undertake because you want the easy path. This is the road that you agree to undertake when you are ready to commit to the fullest expression of yourself. There is no outward marker of success. that will make you appear more pleasing to God. So please don't come back to me and say, well, I'm going to really do something about my spiritual awareness after I've become president of my company. God's not going to buy that. You don't need to be successful in the world. You need to be successful in your heart. The only way you are going to be successful at being chosen is to go through the heart. Now, that's another scripture that I didn't bring up that we wanted to look at today. But that also causes confusion, and we have a few minutes left, so let's take a look at it. Jesus said, I am the vine and you are the branches. Cut off from me, you can do nothing. Well, that sounds like we better be dependent. That all of this free will that I was talking about is really just garbage because, this good mind that God gave each one of us is really worthless. That's one way of looking at the scripture, but again, it's incorrect because it's not looking at what was said with the wisdom of the heart. If we look at it from a heart perspective, we will understand we can do nothing without divine support. We cannot keep our hearts beating. We can't keep our lungs breathing. We can't get the brain to regulate other functions in our body without divine support. So what makes us believe that we can navigate through the challenges of the human existence without divine support? All Jesus wanted us to know is that help is available to every person, every minute of the day. And sure, there are things that you can do where you won't feel that you really need the overarching vision of God or that deep wisdom. But there will be times when you're needing to make a decision, or when you feel so lost and confused that you really are not capable of seeing clearly. That's when you are going to want to align yourself through prayer or meditation with God and ask them to help you see which choice is for your highest good. Now let's also understand, God doesn't play games. So if your answer is coming from God and not the ego, it will be exceedingly clear. If it's coming from the ego, it might feel like a trick. It might feel confusing. It might feel like you have to hurt yourself or someone else. That's not God guiding you forward. It also, if it's coming from the ego might want to tell you, you're superior. Those others, no, superior. Let's understand. There is no superior, inferior. There is only a being that may understand more about God and their connection with God, as opposed to one who may still be lost in the darkness and believe they are not worthy of that connection. There's no better than. We are one beam of light, separated into individual bodies so that we can experience different ways of being and send that information back to the collective consciousness so that we will know when we are loving and honoring and accepting of every person, our lives feel better, they work better, and we accomplish more. So let's get back for a minute to what is required of you to be chosen by God. There is the condition of free will. There's also something else that you must do before you're going to really be able to understand at the deepest level you are chosen. And that is heart cleaning, mind cleaning, house cleaning. It is time to hold yourself accountable. Look at your thoughts. Look within your heart. Look at your words and ask yourself, what is it that I need to let go of? What's holding me in a place of darkness? All negativity has to go. All limiting beliefs, the blame, the shame, the hurt from the past that you might be hanging on to, any kind of hatred, superiority, unforgiveness, whether it's to yourself or to someone else, it doesn't matter. If it is in the lower vibrational register, if it is not of love, joy, and peace, it will prevent you from having your ultimate heaven experience. Just remember, it doesn't matter whether you're holding these beliefs about yourself or another person. Because we're all one, it has the same effect, which is to keep you from fully entering in to the state of love, joy, and peace, which is the state in which God occupies. That's how we get heaven on earth. That curtain that rolls back, that new world, it's not a new physical place. It's a new spiritual place. It's the place where we have agreed to let go of all hatred, all negativity, all vengeance. And we have said yes to sharing love, joy, and peace with ourselves and everyone we meet. Now, let us understand that if somebody is engaging in behavior that is not acceptable, we do not condone the behavior. That is not acceptable, no matter what. Any form of abuse to another or to yourself is not acceptable. But looking at the behavior is not the way to correct it. The way to make a difference and to cause correction that will enable you to hold that new vibration is to look at all that you are that is right, good, feels good to your heart, and gives you a sense of worthiness. It's probably exactly the opposite from the way that you grew up. But it's important, especially in these times that we are enduring now, it is essential that we begin looking at what is right and showing that to ourselves and to others. Call out the good. Don't focus on the bad. Thank you for sharing with me today. It is so important that we understand the oneness from which we have come and the oneness that we are. If you're ready to deepen your spiritual journey, then please go to my website, marciamartinthehearthealer.com, Marcia spelled M-A-R-C-I-A or M-M Heart Healer. And there you are going to find so so many different resources. You can do your own journey, and that won't cost you anything. There are many free resources available for you. I have a YouTube channel. I have a blog. You can access it all through my website, or just go to YouTube and type Marcia Martin, the Heart Healer. Or if you're ready to go deep with guidance, then I invite you to either join my community, which is affordable to absolutely every person, or sign up to work with me individually. I want for you what is best for you. It is my deepest desire that you receive the help that you need because you're worth it. So until next week, I'm sending you all my love.
You've been listening to another fabulous program on Angel Heart Radio. Our goal is to remind you of how much you matter in the world and to let you know that we appreciate who you are in the world. You can check out who's on, when we're on, and who our guests are at angelheartradio.com. Everything is there. It's all just one click away. Angel Heart Radio programs are powerful tools to help you in your life and your life experience. They are not intended, nor should they, be used to replace your medical or legal advice. The views expressed by hosts, co-hosts, callers, guests, and associates should not be construed as advice from Angel Heart Radio.